This week's scenario was supply and demand from the 2014 Steamroller packet. This scenario does have the Killbox Artifice in effect and consists of a 12-inch diameter zone in the center of the table and 2 objectives. The objectives can be destroyed for 1 CP, and the zone can be controlled for 1 CP and dominated for 2 CPs. The objectives have Defense 5, Armor 18, and 15 health boxes, and have the Fuel special rule. While this objective is not contested by enemy models, friendly models beginning their activation within 4 inches of this objective can run or charge without being forced or spending focus. The objective also has a priority rule. An enemy warcaster cannot dominate the central zone if the objective is within their control area.
Okay, today I'm playing the Xerxes, the Fury Halaak. I'm playing a tier 1 of his Footsteps of Giants. I thought it would be very interesting to run a very simple tier. 2 Mammoths, Tiberian, a Reptile Hound because, well, at the end I had 2 points, and 2 min units of Beast Handlers.
Hey everybody, this is Gaston, and today not only am I playing with E-Reznik, I'm also playing with myself. That's right, it's the Gaston plays Galleon, Epic Battle Engine, Warcaster, Colossal, Showdown, Extravaganza, Extraordinaire. So buckle on that seatbelt and let's get ready to rumble!
For the pre-deployment, seeing as how I have so much to pre-deploy, I decided to put Xerxes in the middle, flanking him by a Mammoth on either side, because, you know, well, who doesn't like to have that much beef next to him? Kind of made it funny looking, because 2 great big huge Mammoths, and Xerxes.
So deployment for me was actually a little bit strange. This is probably the 3rd or 4th time maybe that I have played this list, and so I'm still getting used to the whole dealing with the large base, Colossals, a large base, Warcaster, or the massive base, whatever they're calling it these days. And then to throw that into perspective, I also have this objective that's like right in front of me. And I want my Reckoners to be able to kind of come around and angle into the zone, and then I want to have that objective not kind of messing with the Galleon's movement. So it ended up creating almost this like weird deployment jigsaw puzzle, where I'm trying to figure out where I want everything to go after turn 1. So after you set up all your big pieces, then you got to find room for all these little solos to squeeze in there and everything. And the big mistake I made here was deploying Gorman on the far flank there. And since then, in other games, I've actually corrected that myself and started deploying him more centrally, so that way he can be more useful earlier on in the game. You can get better opportunities with him.
Alright, the rest of the setup's really simple. Tiberian was next to him, the Reptile Hound somewhat behind and in the middle. Then the Beast Handlers just kind of get worked around in a semicircle behind the different Mammoths.
Here I just deployed Alten Ashley so he can go kill himself a Reptile Hound, because I like to talk a lot of shit before the game, and I promised that was going to happen. So my turn 1 is very simple. The Reckoners ran up, I put Iron Aggression on the Galleon, and everything just kind of moved up. So enough talking about me, let's talk about what in the world is going on the other side of the table for me. And as we're playing this game, we got people walking back and forth, and they're all like looking at our lists like, what am I seeing? This is insanity. And so it's kind of funny because I had started putting the Galleon on the list and experimenting with it because of a specific game I had played against E-Xerxis with Halaak. And Halaak just out-threaded me so far that I needed some way of pulling him in, some way of handling that threat that I just wasn't getting in my original list. So I popped this in, now I have drag, I'm happy, I'm excited, and then it's like this whole army of immovable, undraggable, angry elephants that I can't do anything to. And it's kind of terrifying, actually, because they have these big cannons, and while I have the Quire to kind of protect the Reckoners, which is a great thing, I don't have anything to protect the Galleon. And kind of a weakness here that I opted to, just kind of deal with anyway, was that I have no way of repairing Galleon. I don't have Dirty Meg in the list, so I just kind of have to face tank it and hope for the best. And that was a very specific choice I made with the solos there, but, when you're taking the list and you're making it work for yourself, you can change these things around and find what works best for you.
Alright, turn 1 is relatively simple. I started with Xerxes. I dropped 2 for Ignite, 2 for Mobility, because, well, speed is a nice thing to have. Then I advance him forward. I'm checking my control area to make sure I leave enough space between the objective and my caster to get the first Mammoth up there. And then I cast the free Animus of Bump, because Tiberian is the one that's bonded in this game. Then I take the first Mammoth, and he just advances up his inches. Because I'm trying to see if I can actually get a lucky scatter into one of the solos on this side over here. The POW is high enough with boosting that I should be, if I get a good scatter, I should be able to get, I should be able to kill somebody off. But unfortunately, out of all 3 shots, none of the scatters actually went the way that they needed to go, or at least was far enough to go where they needed to go. So that made him pretty full. The next one, he just basically ran, trying to keep far enough away that I don't get shot by the Reckoners and the Galleon all in one go. Then I check my control area, activate Tiberian. He runs, but I didn't leave too much space between the 2 Mammoth. Well, between the Mammoth and Xerxes. Unfortunately, that's the bad thing about huge bases. It's that many huge bases anyways. It's hard to get a good fix on where they all need to be. So I advance the Beast Handlers next. They do some conditioning to remove Fury, because nobody likes angry beasts, especially on a 5 Fury caster. Now the Reptile Hound activates, he runs. And I basically hide him up in against the wall. I'm hoping I can get him to go do some solo hunting next round, if he survives.
One of the things I really like about this list is this concept of having an always-on assassination potential, where you have all of these defense debuffs in his feet, in flare, and then you have all of these guns that you can bring to bear on a single target, and if that target's a Warcaster, then you can just go ahead and kill him. I mean, you're looking at 2 Reckoner shots, 2 Vassal shots, the Trident from the Galleon, at least 2 cannon shots, and that can go all the way up to 6 cannon shots. So it's a fair amount of damage that you can put out there. And it is enough to actually take heavy off the table a turn, which is the other side of that equation, is that you use the guns to attrition rather than just going for this all-out assassination. The downside to having that assassination is you get into this mentality where you're like, man, I really want to assassinate. And you can just get yourself into really bad situations where it's not a good idea to go for it, but you do anyway just because you're like, well, I could get lucky. So here I'm kind of looking at that assassination for Xerxes, and I sit there and I math it out, and what we're looking at is I need all my shots because he has 1 transfer and 1 shield guard, and that will probably just barely kill him with a little bit of a margin of error. So we go first, we go with Acquire, and we chant battle, and then that 1 Reckoner is behind the wall, so he can't assault. So we're using him as my do I go for it, do I not go for it barometer, almost, because once Reznik goes in front of that wall, he's in charge range of the Mammoth, and he's done if he doesn't pull it off. So that Reckoner walked up, and I had just, been too optimistic with distances, and he's out of range on Xerxes. And so that, however, gives me this ability to back away from the assassination. Now I'm not going for it, now I'm not putting myself in danger. So now what we're going to do instead is we're just going to turn every single gun we have onto one of the Mammoths. And we're going to try to get it down to the point where a single Reckoner can take it out in combat with charging next turn. So that way I'm kind of pre-killing this thing, or pre-damaging it, so that it's easier to kill in the future. So we take the Galleon, he turns around, and he steps his big toe into the zone, so that way he's in range to shoot, but he's not in range to be charged. And he shoots with a Trident first, which is out of range, so that was dumb. But otherwise, he just sits there and he unloads with all the gun ports. He boosts 3 of them, because he's got the 3 focus from Gaston. And he does great damage. I mean, really great dice on this. The other Reckoner, the Black Reckoner that come up in E-Xerxis, he gets enlivened from a Vassal who's hanging out behind the wall. I certainly want to protect my Reckoners. Then the other Vassal hands out enliven for very much the same reason. and that Reckoner lights up the Mammoth as well. So when all the shooting was said and done, I want to say the Mammoth had something like 28 health left. So some very amazing dice on that. Absolutely amazing. And then both the Reckoners are enlivened, so that way he's hopefully only going to be able to, if he does charge, he's only going to get one shot on him, then he'll scoot away. So we have Taryn coming up. I did make a promise to go kill that Reptile Hound. That wasn't like an empty boast. You really don't want a little critter that can boost running around all your solos and eating them. So she's just popping 2 whatever shots, and she's doing that to make sure that Alten comes in and he kills it, so that way he can Swift Hunter, kind of behind that wall to where the bridge is. And with any luck, that'll keep him safe enough where he can start going for some pain givers next turn.
Okay, losing the Reptile Hound was expected. I was hoping to, do something funny with it, but unfortunately I didn't get a chance. And Gaston's damage rolls were phenomenal. He was able to put quite a bit of damage on that one Mammoth, and it was just one of those things where it really kind of hurt. We didn't check for fire right away, mostly because of the fact that I couldn't see the little token in front of the Mammoth from where I was standing. I was checking for kill box, making sure I wasn't in kill box, and now it's a matter of trying to figure out how to just whittle down some of what he has. He does have a lot more moving parts to his list than I do, and a lot more ranged. I do have a lot more armor and health boxes on my side, but unfortunately he's playing a very smart game. It's just the way it worked out this time. Thought I was playing smart, thought I was doing something good, but my distances were just a little off, and it kind of hurt me a little bit. I was thinking, I had some more time, more tactics to go. Unfortunately, I didn't. So now I activate the beast handlers that come around. I go ahead and enrage the 2 different mammoths. They then activate. Well, the first one activates. He charges Taryn, I think it was, trying to keep little animal hunter guy. I can't remember his name. Keeping him in my front arc. I do an assault. I miss her. It scatters. Can't scatter far enough to miss her. And I roll the damage out, and I don't quite kill her, but I do put some significant hurt on her. So now I'm going to have to do it the old-fashioned way, swinging on her and smashing her in the head. I roll, I hit him, and POW 21 again, kills that guy, and now I pretty much in a very bad spot. Between the Galleon sitting there and everything else, I just don't have... I should have moved over a little bit further to the side, but I was just so anxious to kill the solos. What a waste of some perfect good points to kill off solos. Unfortunately, I don't have enough distance to get the Mammoth where he needs to be, but I do make an assault. So he assaults in. I boost the shot on the Galleon. I hit. I boost the damage. Doing some damage. It's like dice -5 or something like that. Dice -4. So I do some damage, but not a whole lot. Now Tiberian activates. He moves forward, and he gets just toes the zone. Puts up his animus of bump, and then the beast handlers advance, hoping to get them close enough, but I don't.
That's a lot of mammoth in my face. I was actually kind of surprised by his choices. I thought he was going to pop feet and light me up with the cannons, to the point where I was trying to estimate how much the cannons would do under his feet turn with the mammoth, and I was coming out with about 24 damage per mammoth, on an ARM 19 jack. So at that point, we're looking at, which columns is it falling under in order to see how bad a shape I'd be in. Instead, I learned that the Mammoth has Assault, which I should start reading my opponent's cards. It's just been so long since I played against one, and I'm a little jealous because the Mammoth gets Assault and Judicator gets Inaccurate. But as it is, I am now in pretty prime position to go ahead and kill the damaged Mammoth from the previous turn. So we're going to start with Acquire, and I zoned out, and I didn't move my Acquire far enough forward, and this is why you should not play on video after working a full day at work. And so one of the Reckoners was out, I just went ahead and ate it rather than trying to figure out distances. So only one of the Reckoners gets battle, and then he just goes and he launches himself into that poor Mammoth. So the Assault shot hits, Charge attack hits, and that's a dead Mammoth. So that pre-planning there worked fantastically. I was very happy with that. Then we're going to come up, we're going to put Enliven on the Reckoner, just to keep him safe. And so this is where I got myself into a bit of a spot with Gorman. I wanted him to come over and blind Tiberion, so that Tiberion couldn't come in and do terrible things to my army. But I just deployed him too far to the flank, and that's very much a learning process there, where to put Gorman, and he needs to be a lot more central in this case. And previous turn I didn't run him up any more forward because, like I said, I was expecting Mammoth shots, and I just didn't want to stray blast to get boosted and kill him. So the other Reckoner receives Enliven as well. And then we're just going through a lot of positioning thought processes here. I really want Reznik to come up and to put Flesh is Weak on the Mammoth, so that way he can't run or charge next turn, and that really limits a lot of his ability. But without the Hierophant, Flesh is Weak is only range 8, and I have a big honking Galleon in my way. So if I do some ride-bys, then I'm afraid that I'll be in threat range of Tiberian. If I don't, then I can't get to him, and trying to rely on scatters is not a good thing. So we're going to default back to rule number 1, which is don't do anything with Reznik. It's a very good rule. It's generally how you keep him alive. So the Black Reckoner came up, and the idea there was to have him simultaneously backing up the White Reckoner, threatening Tiberian and threatening the objective. But I wanted to make sure that Tiberian couldn't get both Reckoners together in one big melee ball and kill them both, because that would be pretty awful. Dougal came up, he put Artillerist on Gorman, and then popped double powder ration. So I opt to reroll the direction, and it doesn't matter, it doesn't get to Tiberian. So sad days indeed. So the next step is to very bravely use Eiryss as a human shield, and she's going to go ahead and pop a Pain Giver as well. And she's just going to take that Mammoth to the face next turn. And again, I'm just trying to figure out where I want Galleon to go. Maybe I can get Reznik there. But instead what I end up doing is using the objective as a human shield, and the hope is that by backing far enough up and his charge angles being what they are, he can't get reach if he charges to either side of the objective with the Mammoth. And that idea there is to just keep the Galleon safe. So the Galleon's going to shoot up the Mammoth, and he's taking his right side gun ports onto the Pain Givers, hoping to scatter and kill a couple of them. Because after I do, this pre-damage, is what we're calling it, to the Mammoth, I don't want 3 Pain Givers to come up and start freaking medicating it and just undoing everything I did. And I figure I got 3 focus, I got 3 shots on the other side. I'm going to boost all those, and then the ones that aren't boosted really can't damage the Mammoth anyway. So we're just going to put those onto the support pieces. And it works out pretty well. I believe they end up fleeing. So that denies him a little bit of healing and a little bit of enrage. He still has a second unit, so it's not a big deal. We'll see what happens next.
Okay, after that last turn, looking at the table, I finally came to an idea of a plan for what I wanted to do this turn. The frenzy check, because I had too much fear in the table. So I did a frenzy check, and of course the Mammoth passes, so that was a good thing. My plan for this turn was, seeing how all he had in the zone was the one Reckoner and Gorman to Wulfe, my plan, hoping, was that I could get Tiberian up there, get him to the Tiberian move up, either slam the Reckoner out and then smash Gorman with the Tetsubo or something, get the Mammoth over there to take out the objective, and then move Xerxes into the zone, and that way I get 1 for the objective and 2 more additional for dominating the zone. That's the plan for this turn. And everything is moving towards that. I activate the Beast Handlers. The Beast Handlers move up. They enrage the Mammoth. Now the Mammoth activates. He assaults the objective. He hits it, does very minimal damage, I think a point of damage. He then takes his tusks on Eiryss, end up killing her, and now it's a matter of using my fists to take out the objective, which unfortunately I am rolling very low, but managed to kill it. So that's him. He is done. Now the next part is to activate Xerxes, which I've also up at Ignite. He puts up mobility. He gets up to the point to where he can tow the zone. So that way, if I can kill off the zone, if I can kill those things out, push those things out, I've got 3 points. I've already got 1. Just gotta get those other ones. And the hope is that by doing that, I'll put pressure on him to commit more to the zone, commit more to me versus standing back. I do know that the Galleon is standing there waiting to pummel my Mammoth. It's just one of those things where it's nothing I could do. I had to do what I could to try to start scoring at least points, hoping I could fend him off maybe long enough to score enough points to win, because there was no way I was going to be able to get an assassination off on him, because he just kept playing his caster too far back. Far enough in the zone, but not close enough to where I could actually get to him. Kind of a bummer. But yeah, Gaston did play a very smart game. He played to the strengths of his army, how his army was built. Even though me having what I had in the army, none of it was draggable, except for the beast handlers. He did a very good job of overcoming me being able to take out part of what he was able to do. So now I activate Tiberian. He charges the Reckoner, and I boost it to hit. I do get a crit. Tiberian does have a crit smite on a Setsubo, so I'm able to slam it backwards only an inch, which really sucks because I wasn't able to get him all the way out of the zone. He was still partially in the zone, but his Enliven doesn't trigger, and I was able to get some damage put on him. So now I'm going to have to buy an attack and boost the attack roll on Gorman, and now I'm just going to buy attacks on the knockdown Reckoner, which I don't kill. I ended up failing at my attempt.
So my learning experience for last turn was that not only do Mammoths have assault, they have bulldoze as well. Like, I should really read these guys' cards. So after that, I actually grabbed his card, and I'm like, what other surprises are waiting for me on this stupid thing? But I got pretty lucky overall. The Reckoner lost his gun and his movement, but otherwise he is full to go with the Cortex and the melee weapon. And Gorman was actually surviving Tiberion. And I get the decision-making process there, where Gorman is very dangerous, particularly when you only have 3 combat models on the table. And so the positive side for me is that he was beating on Gorman instead of beating on the Reckoner, which lets me come back from this. So I start with the choir. I had misunderstood. I thought that bump was on Tiberion, not on Xerxes. So I'm parking one of my choir boys directly behind the Reckoner to keep him from getting bumped away. It turned out to be totally unnecessary. And this time we are going to battle both of them, because I swear to God I'm good at this game, some days. And then the Reckoner's going to stand up. He's already in melee of Tiberion, and he's just going to start wailing on him. Then the Vassal's going to come up, and we're going to continue wailing on Tiberion. And then Pokey's going to be so bored that he's going to check his text in the middle of our game. Shame on him. So, Tiberion's still alive. Very sad, but not entirely unexpected. E-Reznik puts Iron Aggression back up on the Galleon. I had dropped it when going for the assassination run that got aborted. And the reason I'm doing it this way is so I know what the status of the Mammoth is and what the status of Tiberion is before I go with the final Reckoner and before I go with Gorman, so I can see what's going on there. So Galleon charges for free, and he's got an extra dice to hit, so he's hitting all his attacks. He's just chewing into that Mammoth, and remember, we've already hurt this Mammoth with all the boosted shooting from the port guns, and actually put a harpoon into him as well in that previous turn. And so he's successfully able to kill off the Mammoth, which then on the other side of the table frees up my decision-making process of taking that Reckoner, walking on into Tiberion, and face-smacking him. Fortunately, he still hits, and that is one dead Tiberion as well. Vassal throws up some Enlive and Love just to keep my functioning Reckoner safe. Dougal does some Artillerist on Gorman. Gorman walks up, pops Xerxes with a Blind Bomb. And with that, I believe I get a control point, because Xerxes is not contesting, and that leaves me in a very good position here with all of my heavies alive.
Okay, now that I'm down to my caster, some beast handlers, and that's about it. And I have a blind caster. Right? It's not looking very good for me. So, just to try to do something to pull something out, I take the first unit of beast handlers. They take the order to charge / run. I go in against Gorman. For somehow this guy actually manages to hit him, and the other ones pretty much run to get in the way. The second unit ends up running, also trying to get in the way, trying to block some paths to my caster. And then my caster doesn't do much, but just because he's blind, he just shimmies.
Tiberion can't kill Gorman, but apparently all it takes is a pain giver anyway. So go figure on that one. This time around, I go ahead, I load up the Black Reckoner, I upkeep Iron Aggression on Galleon, just in case he needs to trample on over to get to Xerxes, and we're pretty much just going to go try to end him this turn. First things first, Quar are going to move up, they're going to chant battle. And E-Reznik is going to move over to the side. He's going to pop feet, just to make the pain givers a little lower defense. We're going to have the White Reckoner try to shoot a pain giver. who is in combat with the Galleon, and unfortunately he misses and he ends up shooting up the Galleon instead. But it was a worthy attempt. Vassal moves up, he has the Black Reckoner ancillary attack the Paingiver who's in front of him, and kills him. Dougal moves up and shoots down another Paingiver who's in the Galleon's way. So it looks like Galleon's going to have to trample no matter what, since I wasn't able to kill off that one guy. But it looks like with those Paingivers dead, the Reckoner is free to charge onto Xerxes and start beating him up. I do take one free strike from Paingiver who doesn't do any damage. Or, I don't know, that was a pretty high roll, maybe it did do damage. But either way, assault shot, charge attack. And a dead Xerxes. Thank you all for watching.